Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's AFSA Business Partner webinar, Applications for AI and ML in Lending, for practical use cases. My name is Grace McGurn, and I'm the digital coordinator for AFSA. We are pleased to have you with us. Today's webinar is sponsored by PayNearMe. PayNearMe is a highly engaged AFSA Premier business partner, and we greatly appreciate their support. Your presenters for today are Steve Murphy, Director of Marketing, and Roger Portela, Senior Director of Product Development. A couple of housekeeping items. Your mics and cameras have been disabled to ensure there are no disruptions. The webinar is being recorded and will be available to view on our website early next week. If you have any questions, please post them to the chat and the presenters will be happy to answer them. We hope you enjoy the webinar, and now I turn it over to Steve and Roger.
Thank you so much, Grace. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the webinar today. We're going to be focusing on a topic that has really captured the zeitgeist of 2023, and that's artificial intelligence and machine learning. Yet, all the attention it's getting, there are still so many questions surrounding this topic. For example, when are we actually going to see AI transition from topic du jour to mainstream adoption, something we're using every day? And what actual use cases are we solving for? So today, we're really hoping to shed some light on these questions and hopefully introduce some new concepts along the way. Before we jump in, though, did want to hit a few items. First and foremost, questions. If you have them, feel free to drop them in at any time. We're going to do our best to answer all the ones we can along the way at the end or following up with you individually, depending on the types of questions you have. And I'll answer one right now. As Grace said, yes, we are recording. Yes, you will get a copy of that recording if you're registered for this webinar today. Second, I'm going to be sharing a quick anonymous feedback form up front. This is definitely more for me than anything. If you could fill it out at some point, it will really help us improve this and future webinars. Whether you're on the edge of your seat, falling asleep, somewhere in between, we would love to know. I'm going to drop that in the chat right now. So before we finish, I would really appreciate if you could help fill that out for us. Now, before we jump in earnest here, I do have a quick disclosure that I'm going to read as quickly as possible. And due to the changing nature of what we're talking about today and the fact that it may be viewed at a later date, here goes nothing. PayNearMe assumes no liability or responsibility for any errors or omissions in the content expressed in this presentation. The information is provided as is with no guarantees of completeness, accuracy, or timeliness, and without warranties of any kind, express or implied. As AI, ML, as well as laws and regulations surrounding it may change over time, PayNearMe's views expressed in this presentation are preliminary and subject to change. PayNearMe does not warrant that any information services or software resulting from AI, ML will be error-free or omission-free, and PayNearMe shall assume no liability or responsibility in the event that a business decides to incorporate AI or ML into their operations. I know there's quite a few lawyers on the call. I hope you'll grade me on my speed reading. And now we can get into the actual agenda for what we have today. So we have a lot of really interesting topics. We're going to start with a brief introduction, what brings us to the table today, before jumping into the main focus of this webinar, which is going to be the use cases for artificial intelligence and machine learning, specifically for the lending space. We'll then spend a little bit of time talking about some of the inherent risks involved before sharing some follow-up resources and jumping into the question and answer section. As for your speakers, Grace did a wonderful job introducing us, but for those who are popping in, I hear the little note every few seconds of people joining. My name is Steve Murphy. I'm the Director of Marketing over at PayNearMe, and I am pleased to be joined by the very talented Roger Portela. He is the Senior Director of Product Management here at PayNearMe, and he's spearheading the lion's share of our AI and ML efforts. He's got an impressive background turning ideas and data into usable products, key there, usable products. And I'm seeing a lot of familiar names. I think a lot of you on this call are already using many of the products and features that Roger has helped build in his time at PayNearMe. So say hello, Roger.
Hello, everyone.
Excellent. For those of you who aren't clients and aren't familiar with PayNearMe, a brief overview. PayNearMe is the award-winning platform that lets your customers pay how, when, and where they choose. We offer all the major payment types, channels, and tools needed to manage the complete end-to-end payments experience. And we've been doing this for a while. We've been at it for over 14 years, processing billions of dollars each month for a roster of over 5,000 clients. For those of you who have been with us since the beginning, you're probably familiar with our original Cash at Retail product, which is still going strong today. We now accept cash payments at over 60,000 participating retail locations, including 7-Eleven, CVS, Walmart, Walgreens, several others, including our newest, Dollar General. So very pleased to have them in the mix. But you did not come here to hear about us. You came because, like many Americans, you've noticed the seismic shift that artificial intelligence has had on our culture in the last year. So raise your hands if you've seen at least one other mention of AI just today. I actually can't see your hands. Grayson disabled all your cameras. That's okay. I assume you're all waving double right now, right? You see it everywhere. I see it everywhere. It's something that's just incorporated into mainstream culture. Oh, excellent. You're all using the little hand wave feature. Thank you. And I think the real inflection point we can go into for this was earlier this year, right? When OpenAI shocked the world with ChatGPT. It was really the first product that showed us that AI was not only tangible and useful, but it was practical. It was easy. It was right there in our faces. And suddenly the everyday American started to think, oh, this AI thing isn't some far-fetched future dream, right? And then they cemented that by becoming the fastest company ever to get 1 million users, only recently dethroned by the launch of Facebook's Twitter alternative Threads. But now you can't get away from it, right? You're all raising your hands. We see it in the news every day, whether that's major news publications like New York Times or even trade publications like Automotive News. It's influencing stock prices. Here's the headline we just grabbed. Tesla's stock rises nearly 10% on AI Mojo, right? Just the sound of incorporating it into your business stack can raise your stock prices. And there's even a keynote at the upcoming AFSA annual meeting in a few weeks, which, by the way, will be there. We hope to see many of you as well. And I promise that is not a paid promotion by AFSA. But in essence, AI is everywhere, and it's there for a good reason. That reason being that AI and ML have truly transformational potential. Now, a lot of products are touted that way, a lot of fads and trends, but there really are only a few that change everything about how we interact with the world. The first that comes to mind was the introduction of the smartphone, right, 20 years ago, and particularly the iPhone back in 2007. That changed the way the world interacted with the web, right? Instead of being relegated to a sit-down activity, you would go to your computer to interact with the web, maybe a couple hours a day or a few times a week or at work. Americans suddenly had all of mankind's collective knowledge and also Candy Crush at their fingertips, right? Anytime, anywhere, you could access the web and all it had to offer. And today, over 85% of American adults own a smartphone, making online access near ubiquitous in the country. And lenders had to adapt to this shift, right? That was one of the first really big ones that all of you started to feel, hey, things are changing. Paper statements turned to emails, in-person lending was enhanced with digital experiences. And for the first time really in history, it was practical that a lender in, say, Iowa could legitimately work with a customer in Hawaii without having to set up shop and create a new location. From there, the next big transformation we saw was a rollout and adoption of cloud software, right? All of a sudden, all of you now had access to business systems, infrastructure, and other software available right in the cloud, right? That allowed for unprecedented scale and speed of innovation. Now, instead of managing large, expensive on-prem setups and having to worry about ongoing maintenance, nearly anyone, whether it's a small lender or a large one, had access to new software to help drive innovation. For example, something we do at PayNearMe, right? We adopted a no downtime release schedule, something that isn't even feasible in the old way of doing it on-prem, but now is something we're seeing very commonly in the cloud software space. So because of that, over 90% of companies now have adopted some form of cloud software. And this one really blew me away. Over 60% of all corporate data is now stored in the cloud. Why do I bring these up and spend some time on them? I think it's really important because these are the two transformations that also enable the ascension of artificial intelligence, right? Consumers have a connected device on them at all times. Businesses are now collecting and processing more data via the cloud than ever before. These are the conditions needed for something like AI and ML to truly flourish. And they've both hit mainstream adoption, making this the perfect time for us to see AI go into the collective consciousness of the US. And it's not a dream either, right? We showed those headlines in the previous slide. Backing it up, there's been a recent Pew Research poll that said 55% of Americans recognize that they interact with AI at least once a week or more. Now, notice how I said recognize. The actual number is probably far higher. I think all of us are probably interacting with AI at some degree at this point. But the fact that more than half actually recognize it and understand they're interacting with AI shows that mainstream adoption is well underway, and that it's something that it's coming no matter what. Now, I know that was a lot of background, a lot of setting the table. You're probably chomping at the bit to get to the good stuff. Primarily, how will AI and ML actually impact the lending space? And for this, I'm happy to turn the microphone over to Roger to dig in some practical use cases.
Thanks, Steve. So let's go ahead and just jump right into it. I'd first like to start out with our general product philosophy here at PayNearMe. I'm not going to read it word for word, but essentially we're in business to make our customers successful by, of course, facilitating payments, but also to improve the KPIs that matter to them. And our path into AI is guided by this product philosophy. Note that the words AI isn't part of it. Rather, we recognize that we're not diving into AI for the sake of AI, but rather for us to help improve the way that we do things, for not just us, but for our customers as well. You can also use AI in various different ways. First, we observe, then we can predict, and then we can choose how we act on those predictions. So maintaining control on how AI is used is certainly feasible throughout this journey. You also don't have to go it alone. Understanding that you can leverage existing vendors who are enriching their features with AI because they're popping up all over the place, or when you're evaluating new vendors, you can ask how those AI enhancements can improve your overall customer experience and business processes. It's a great way to leverage AI without necessarily having internal expertise. Now, where AI shines, it's really good at processing massive amounts of data. Terabytes and terabytes and terabytes of data it can sift through very easily. It can manage edge cases, which has made traditional A/B testing difficult. It is very good at taking manual processes and automating them, especially in areas that are less sensitive to risk management. So you combine this with a staged observability and later on decision making, it sets us up for success in using AI. And that's why we've decided to move forward in these particular areas, which are delivering exceptional payment experiences, increasing payment authorization rates, increasing the efficiency with our automation, and minimizing fraud and risk and exposure. There are lots of other use cases, but these are the ones that we've decided to first concentrate on because they are really the KPIs that drive our customers' business. Now, this has led us into strong observations and predicting probabilities of the transaction acceptance, determining which engagements or communications are most effective in reaching our customers, where bottlenecks and drop-offs are in workflows, along with reasons behind them, and what transactions carry the most type of risk. One of the first use cases we'll look at today involves deep linking to one-click payments and personalizing the experience throughout the customer's journey. Now, in traditional A/B testing, what we've done is we've set up a test with a control group, an experiment group, and sometimes we'll have a C or a D in there, but it's really a limited set of experiments that we're trying to run. And then over a period of days, weeks, or sometimes even months, we throw traffic in different segments at it, and we determine which a winner is. That process has taken traditionally a long time. With the use of AI, it helps expand the amount of tests that we're running and allows us to determine who those winners are much quicker. So in the case of deep linking to a one-click payment, knowing what type of communication to send and when to send it, so facets like timing, verbiage, frequency are all variations that AI can help with. And then where do they land? Well, hopefully it's a personalized experience. I am Roger, Steve is Steve, and our motivations are different. So having a personalized experience throughout that journey that recognizes that we're individuals helps contribute to better bottom lines. And AI allows us to componentize elements on a page or a screen and tailor it to the visitor. Now, we should also be cognizant that we can implement guardrails or business rules so that the AI stays compliant and so that we don't experiment beyond acceptable boundaries. So understanding how to use these communications can help reduce the call center volume by sending notifications so that people receive relevant information before they make a call about what their balance is, or about where their due dates are, or where their receipts are. And then we can also do things like display dynamic payment options. So in aggregate, consumers want every single option if you ask them. And if you put a survey out there, they're going to want cash, and then PayPal and ACH and credit card and debit card. But in reality, our data tells us that people also suffer from decision paralysis. So like a Cheesecake Factory menu or a Jersey Diner menu, you can open it up and be overwhelmed by the amount of choices that you have. So the individual, as opposed to the aggregate, wants clear, concise choices without clutter. AI can determine what those influential factors are, whether it's DMA that they reside in or payment history, and zero in on the choices that matter to them. Now, with an eye on auditability for fair lending, AI's responsiveness and capability of predicting the most likelihood of payment allows you to either make an informed prediction or make a decision based on the historical data. Remember, you have control over what options are shown to your consumers. In the next use case we're talking about, I'd like you to think about all the things you have to train your collectors to do. So what do you have to do with your call centers to reach volume? We hear that collectors often receive a list, then start making calls, often with little insight into that person's history. Now, what if that list was prioritized based on who is most likely to pay? What if AI made the first contact and confirmed that intent to pay? How much savings would you expect? With the nuances of autopay and educating the end user, even though we're not going to change their autopay schedule without consent, we can give them a more dynamic payment options and suggest payment schedules that better align with their ability to pay. So knowing when to attempt an autopay also improves our acceptance rates. Do I want to charge them on the 1st versus the 15th for the 3rd, Tuesday versus Friday, 6 a.m. versus 8 p.m.? All of those choices can influence the result. Now, what effect would less autopay problems have on your support queue? How much cost savings would you have if you reduce or eliminate the amount of people calling in to change or modify your autopay schedules? These are all the questions that help you drive what that ROI is on AI. And in an example, we've learned that not everyone is a good fit for autopay. So the spray and pray tactic of blanketing people with autopay enrollment efforts may actually result in decreased acceptance rates. Our customers have told us, and our data confirms, that not everyone is a fit for how autopay is managed today. There's a segment of users who are a great fit. There's another segment of users who aren't, and they're usually pretty easy to identify even without the use of AI. But then there's this huge group in the middle who may be a great fit or may not be a great fit. If given the right options, they may be great auto-pay customers or candidates. AI can help us understand these segments and drive adoption efficiently by being able to do all the things that Excel's at. Look at massive data sets, compare all those edge cases, wadding through them, which would normally take countless people hours. And then we can observe and see what the AI would choose and then make a decision after that. Once again, retaining that control and not handing it over necessarily right away. In the next use case of minimizing fraud and risk, I'd like to reiterate that you don't have to do this on your own. There are a lot of companies out there that this is their core competency. They look at fraudsters, they look and see how to reduce risk, and they have massive amounts of data available to them. But in the case of dynamic payment or payment options, ensuring that you have solid auditability. With AI, you can more accurately determine which payment methods are at most risk for fraud and limit its usage. By training models in both positive and negative scenarios across enormous amounts of data, AI can identify new and existing fraud patterns. Tools like Snowflake Marketplace, governmental public APIs, and countless other third-party datasets can enrich ML models to look for correlations where normally they would not be found. All this leads to better predictions and reduced delinquencies. Now, our experiments have shown that AI can predict with a very high degree of accuracy whether a payment will go through. Now, this allows us to communicate with that person more effectively and plan better internally for both the short and long term. For larger organizations, this allows you to do more with what you have. And now AI tools are available and affordable, giving access to sophisticated tools to businesses of any size that helps everyone detect fraud and manage risk better. And this is really just the tip of the iceberg. What we're now doing is just beginning to build a muscle memory that will shape how we interact with AI as part of our day-to-day routines. And PayNearMe is looking at all parts of our businesses to see how we can leverage the best-in-class AI tools, not necessarily the most well-known, but make us more efficient. So from financial forecasting to vendor onboarding, localization and translation, marketing, all parts of our business are on the table as far as this is how AI can help us. And we're also ensuring that we do so responsibly. Customer protection is of the utmost importance, so we must understand that AI carries risks. Bias can be introduced into data models unintentionally. Full zip codes versus first 3 digits, things of that nature. So auditability is a key factor in how we approach AI. Now, there is a big misconception out there that all of AI is this black box. It isn't. Although there is a give and take between auditability and performance, knowing exactly why a decision is made ensures that you know that the AI is making the right decision. If we look at it in the spirit of I do, we do, you do, whereas first I have a manual process and then I supplement it using AI, still keeping that manual and human oversight, and then we hand over the decision making to an auditable and observable AI. Those are the steps we're taking. And although it isn't the focus of our talk today, generative AI and large language models do suffer from hallucinations. We've all heard stories that ChatGPT can lie, so never take any output at face value. Always verify. Which leads us to our general philosophy on responsible applications. So as a foundational approach, PayNearMe is focused on using AI responsibly. We want to innovate as fast as we can, yet do it in ways that are safe, auditable, and responsible for our clients and our business. I'll give it back to you, Steve.
Thank you, Roger. That was fantastic. We went pretty quickly, I know, but in that time, we threw a lot at you. So to recap quickly, We do believe that AI and ML have transformational potential in this space and many others. However, we must consider that AI is just a means to an end. Right? It's not the thing we're doing. It's something we're doing to reach our KPIs. For example, driving improvements in user experience, in acceptance rates, in automation, and even improving our risk management capabilities. We've so far just scratched the potential of AI and ML, right? And continuing to talk with all of you, continuing to test and iterate will only yield more innovation over time. But it's important that we do so responsibly. We need to make sure that we capture the inherent risks involved with AI and ML and make it a prerogative that we minimize any of those risks and continue to drive responsible usage together. So for those of you who are interested, we actually have a very thorough document coming out on all of this. If you'd like to request a copy of our point of view on AI and ML coming out in the next week, please feel free to shoot me an email, insights@paynearme.com. That will go directly to me, and I will be happy to share that report with you. In addition to that, when we send over the recording, we're going to send some other resources. So either those of you who want a higher level overview of AI, ML, and its implications, or just specific use cases. We've been talking about this for quite some time in many different publications, and we'll be sharing some of those for you to peruse as well. For now, I'd love to open it up. If you have any questions, you can drop them in Teams now. Or for those of you who want to sit and think on it, please feel free again, reach out directly, insights@paynearme.com. That email will go right to me and I will route it to the appropriate person to help you with any of your questions or requests. So let me pop into the chat and Q&A bucket for anyone that has a question to ask. All right, well, thank you all for your time. We really appreciate it. Again, feel free to follow up with any questions to insights@paynearme.com. Or if you'd like to see a demo of our platform in action, you can go straight to the source and contact sales@paynearme.com or visit us on our website. Thanks, everyone. Grace, back to you.
Thanks so much, Steve and Roger. That was great. Just a reminder for everyone that the recording will be available early next week. Feel free to pop into the webinar section of our website to check, and if not, we will get it out as soon as possible by Tuesday, the latest. Thank you everyone for attending and hope you have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you.